This is Say It Louder, the place for discourse. Welcome back, man. This is episode 7. You know, they say a lot of podcasts make it to about 7 episodes before they quit. So this is our 7th episode. I'm happy with the progress. I hope that we can keep this little thing of ours going. So if you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, then welcome back. We're going to get into the content, but before we do, I want to talk about something, and that's drinking. For a long time, years, I spent just about every day coming home, grabbing a drink, sitting on the couch, and that was how I spent my evenings. Anytime that I had time off, that was how I spent that time off. Whether it be sitting in the house, going out somewhere, hanging out with my pops, wherever I was going to make sure that I had a drink in my hand. And I've stopped drinking. It's been since January 1st of this year, 2025, and I can say with confidence that I have no desire to drink. I'm sitting in the house in the evening. I'm doing this. I'm doing whatever else that I'm doing, right? Hanging out with the kids, hanging out in the office, whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm enjoying that more than I was enjoying drinking. And I'm glad that I've gotten to this space because, like I said, for a long time, for years, I spent a lot of my off time just wasting away. And I'm seeing that now that I'm not drinking as much. Well, I'm not drinking at all. But now that I see that I'm not drinking, I'm being a lot more productive. There's a lot of things that are on the up and up right now. And I'm attributing them to not drinking. I don't feel as tired. I have a lot more motivation to get back in the gym. Things that I was doing, but not as often. Not as much as I should have been. And it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to be back on the right track for where I want to be in my life, right? One of the things I got to incorporate again is reading. I used to be an avid reader. I used to set a list of books that I was going to read for the year and accomplish that every year. And I've kind of gotten away from that discipline, and I'm attributing that to drinking. But I'm back on my grind. Not that I wasn't taking care of business before, but now that I've kicked the habit, I'm definitely in my bag. I'm back in that mode, and I'm happy about it. So if you are somebody that is drinking that wants to stop, I'm wishing you the best of luck. If you have any vices that you're trying to kick, whether it be drinking, smoking, whatever your vice is, I'm wishing you the best of luck. And I know how difficult it can be. And I'm not saying that I had an addiction. I just had an affliction for drinking. It's what I like to do. So I understand where you are, and I'm wishing you the best. Hope that you have success in whatever journey it is that you're going through, and you're going to get there. Now that we've got that out the way, now that we've got the housekeeping out the way about that, we're going to get into the content. And the first thing we got to talk about, man, is Klarna and Doordash. They've got a partnership. Klarna and Doordash have decided that they're going to partner to let you put your food on a subscription service. We know that Klarna, Afterpay, all of these things, they started to pop up around the pandemic, right? We started to see all of these buy now, pay later type of systems pop up around the pandemic where if you don't have the money, you could just put a little bit down, right? You basically subscribe to whatever it is that you're doing, whether it be some clothes, whether it be an item, and now whether it be food, you can pay as you go. If you can't afford your McDonald's burger that you're trying to get DoorDash to your house, just pay $2 for the next 6 months. It'll be yours. I don't understand how we've got to this point as a society. I know that we make a lot of jokes about Americans being lazy, but come on, y'all. Not only are we lazy, right? I'm part of that group because I do use DoorDash. I do use Uber Eats. But not only are we lazy for using those apps, not getting up, not interacting with the society around us, but now we're adding in our proclivity. I know y'all like that word. We're adding our proclivity to go into debt. We know that most Americans have a bunch of credit card debt, and each year they say it's setting a new record for how much debt we're in. We know that people don't have savings. We know that people are in a lot of credit card debt. And this is only another way to dig in your pocket and get you further into a hole when you don't have the money to pay for what it is that you want. And unfortunately, it's food, something that you absolutely need. I can't even fathom that somebody is going to use this, but I know that they are, right? If there wasn't a market for it, they wouldn't have introduced a partnership. Somebody is going to pay for 4, 6, 8, 10 weeks on a $10 burger. They're going to end up paying $15, $20, $25. And it's ridiculous. We've got to at some point say, like, enough is enough. If you don't have the money to afford to pay in full for your burger already, or whatever it is that you're ordering, then you just don't need it. If you have to pay on a subscription to eat your food, then you just don't need to be ordering from the app, because part of ordering from the app is going to mean taxes, is going to mean a delivery fee. So we know that your $10, $15 burger or $50 burger, if you order from Five Guys, that burger is going to be 25% more by the time it gets delivered to your house than it was when you ordered it. It may be more. But now, on top of that, you're going to be paying $2, $3, $4 every paycheck, every week, whatever the model ends up being. You're going to pay significantly more because they're going to want to tax. This is just another form of credit, right? We're not moving away from credit cards. They're not going to use a traditional credit card, right? Which is what you could be doing anyway. But DoorDash and Klarna are making a pathway for them to get directly to your money and bypass the credit card companies. With something that's essential, an app you already use, something that you need, they're just getting directly into your pockets and cutting out the middleman of Visa and MasterCard. And unfortunately, I think we're going to see a wide adoption of this. Of course, we got to wait until like that company's earnings, right? I believe that DoorDash is a public company. I don't know if Klarna is, but we got to wait until their earnings to see exactly how profitable this leg of the business is. But I think that it's going to be lucrative for them because they've already done the market research, right? There's somebody that's 3, 4, 500 pounds that's going to be doing this back to back 4 or 5 times a day. I'm not going to do it. If you catch me doing it, then, shame me. I absolutely deserve to be shamed if I'm subscribing to some food. If I'm subscribing to McDonald's burgers and those bagels that I used to love that I don't eat no more. But that's where we are, right? Our society is kind of like that WALL-E movie where we're getting lazier and lazier to the point where there's going to be no vegetation, right? I don't know if you guys remember WALL-E. It was a great movie. Even as a grown man, I would watch that. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think Klarna and DoorDash, should they be on a subscription service? Should people be able to subscribe to their food? Because that's essentially what it is. The same way that people subscribe to, Netflix and Amazon and Hulu, you can now be on a payment plan to get some food. It's ridiculous, but it's where we are. The next thing we got to talk about is these housing vouchers. We've got some housing vouchers that are going to expire. About 60,000 people were receiving housing vouchers for emergency situations, and that program is coming to an end. So the article for this is coming from calmatters.org. And so I don't waste your time because it's a pretty long article. I'm going to give you the cliff notes. I've already done the required reading because I respect what you got going on. There's a program that is, that's the wrong one. There's a program that is in place to provide emergency housing for those that are in critical situations. The program says, hey, you're living out on the street, you're a victim of domestic violence, you have something going on where you don't have time to matriculate through the normal Section 8 housing program, because that program can take up to 10 years in some cases. I don't understand how we have any government program where somebody needs something and it takes up to 10 years. It's ridiculous. But that's the way the current program works. This emergency program says, hey, you're in a dire situation. We've got to get you placed in some sort of living situation. That's the way it's supposed to work. That's the way it's been working. But now that program has come to an end because the funds that were allotted to that program have all dwindled out, or they're dwindling out, right? They're not all gone yet, but they're just about gone. When I read this, I said, how are we going to let a program that taxpayers pay for to help people that are in dire situations of domestic violence, like imminent homelessness, how are we going to let that run out? Doge is cutting all of this different funding, or at least they say they're cutting funding. They're finding fraud, waste, and abuse. That's what they say. How are we going to let a program that's supposed to help all of these people that are in these dire situations, how are we just going to let that fall to the wayside when we're saving money over here and here and here? You know, we fired all these people in USAID. We said we're getting rid of all these DEI programs. Where are we going to allot that money if we're not giving it to the people that are in the most need? And then as I read down into the article, I learned that this program was established in 2021. During the pandemic, they said, hey, you know, people are in these dire situations. Money's already tight. We're sending people $1,200 checks, those Trump checks that people like to call them. We're sending people this money. Why don't we also help people that are facing homelessness? Why don't we get them into some temporary housing and get them off the street, give them some dignity and pride, and give them somewhere to stay? And if you've been around the channel for any length of time, I'm with that. I don't mind my tax dollars going to help people. If you've been around the channel for any length of time, you know how I feel about this. I don't mind my taxpaying dollars going to help those that are in need. You can't be on the programs forever, right? You can't be driving Benzes and taking trips to Dubai and all that type of stuff. At least not on my dollar. Somebody else might feel different, but on my dollar, no trips to Dubai. You could take a trip to the grocery store. You could take a trip to your house. You could take a trip to your auntie's house, but not Dubai. Not on my tax dollar. But that's where the money was going during the pandemic. It was going to help those that are in need. They had $5 billion. Now those funds are coming to an end. They're telling all the local and state housing authority programs to plan for the money not to come back. They haven't made an official statement, but they said, hey, just in case, you know, we might or we might not refund this program. Just, you know, make a plan for what you're going to do not based on what we're going to do. That's what they said. What responsibility do we have to help the citizens of this country that are in the most dire situations? There are going to be people that say we should continue to fund this type of program, a program that's helping people that are in dire homelessness situations, people that are in domestic violence situations. And I'm going to agree. But let me give you a little more context. This program was started in 2021. It was funded with $5 billion, and they thought that it was going to ride out until about 2030. Well, the program looks like it's coming to an end in 2025. You're going to ask, what the hell is going on? And I'm going to tell you. That money that they allotted to the program was supposed to stretch for the next 9-10 years based on the current market rates at the time that it was funded. Around the time they said that the emergency housing was about $870. And then, because of the pandemic, because they had all these government-backed funded programs, the housing market and the rental market skyrocketed. So it went from $870 being the national average to $1,400 being the average that people were paying for rent under these programs. And in some cases, it was up to $2,200. That's what's going on. That's why the program is not sustained for the next 5 years like it was originally planned, going to 2030. And I think this is something that we all kind of see playing out over the housing market. Whether you're a buyer or a renter, we know that prices have gone haywire. Because the prices are so high, people are not wanting to relocate. And if you do want to relocate, it's already hard to find a new place to rent. Places that used to be, $1,100 or $1,600. And you're like, yo, you don't upgrade anything in here. The stove still looks like this. You got this old flooring. You did the landlord special on the walls. But because they had these government-backed vouchers out of this $5 million pot, they said, yo, we could just raise the rent, and the government, as long as it's the market, as long as I raise it and then Susie raises it and then Tim raises it, as long as we all raise it, it'll be $1,500 and the government's going to pay it. So that's what happened. That's what happened. And that's why the program has run out 5 years before we're supposed to run out. And I've got to tell you, it's unfortunate. People that went in this situation are all of those companies that were buying up all of the single family homes and all of the apartment buildings and everything that was on the market so that they could receive this money. That's who's winning in this situation. We knew that was happening, but now we see why. They were buying those up, they were being rented, and they were backed by the government. The government said they are not planning to refund the program, so it looks like those people are going to be out on their ass. This is kind of like the same discussion that I hear about the student loans, right? All of the tuition keeps going up because the government is backing these loans. I don't know that to be true. I don't know. I'm not super into the student loan thing. I dropped out of school when they told me that I needed to pay $2,000 for the application fee. Not the application fee. It was like you pay the tuition, which was going to be paid by the Army with tuition assistance. And then there was like another $2,000 of admin fees at George Mason. And I said, nah, I think I'm going to pass. And I dropped out of school at that time. So don't quote me on the student loan thing. I didn't take student loans. I was in the military and I dropped out of school. But this is kind of like that same type of thing where the government is backing the loan or backing the funding. So the price just keeps going up and up. And the government's like, yo, we'll give you the money for it. Just get us on the back end. That's what we're seeing. That's the story. 60,000 people are relying on this program. 15,000 of them are in California. And the program is coming to an end because the $5 billion pot ran out in 2025, is running out in 2025 instead of 2030 like it was supposed to. I don't know why I said 2030. I'm tripping. It's pretty late. You got to give me some grace on that one. The next thing we got to talk about is military shaving profiles. I just told you guys I was in the military. I was in for 12 years. I joined when I was 17. I joined the military before I was able to shave. But that is no exception for the fact that they absolutely asked me to shave. I had no facial hair. And they made me go to the PX. I had to buy a razor, had to get some shaving cream, and every morning I was expected to shave regardless of the fact that I had no facial hair. Something that happens in the military, specifically for black men, is that when you shave, you have the risk of getting razor bumps. The technical term is pseudofolliculitis barbae, and you're at risk of getting that, and it's basically a curled hair under your skin. You're going to get razor bumps. It's extremely painful, right? Like it's real sensitive to the touch. If you try to shave, you're going to cut your face. But the military has a standard. They have a certain way that they want you to look, from your hair to your beard, the way that you dress, how your boots are tied, all of it, how your cap is worn, all of it down to a T is described on the Army. The regulation is AR 670-1. I'm going to let Jesse Dollamore over on YouTube explain to you a little bit more what's happening over in the Marine side with this exact situation with the razor bumps and pseudofolliculitis barbae. That is a handful to say. So just for that, go ahead and give this video a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
I didn't think that in the Trump administration I would be reading from military.com, which is the newspaper that deals with military issues. These are, a lot of these people are veterans, but this is a newspaper that covers military issues, military news. Here we are, though. Here's the headline. Marines with skin condition affecting mostly black men could now be booted under new policy, meaning kicked out of the military. A new Marine Corps policy says troops with a genetic skin condition that can cause pain and scarring from shaving and mainly affects black men, can be separated if the health issue persists.
Okay, there you have it. Shout out to that gentleman. I'm going to link his channel down in the show notes. But you get the gist. They're targeting people that have pseudofolliculitis barbae, and they're saying, hey, if you continue to have this issue, we may have to let you go. We may have to kick you out because we have a standard and you're not adhering to that standard. Okay, that's a point. We have AR 670-1 on the Army side, and my generation, they said, hey, if you don't meet the standard, then, you got to go. But being in the military for 12 years, towards the end of my career, we started to see that there was a recruitment problem. There was a lot of people that were getting out and not as many people that were coming into the military, whether it be active duty, guard, or reserve. People just weren't coming in. And the numbers of people that matriculate into the military are only continuing to dwindle. So if you have people that are able-bodied, willing to be in, and they're meeting the standard, except for the fact that they have a shaven profile waiver, why are we kicking these people out? Why are we targeting people that are interested in being in the military because of a skin condition that you can have a waiver for? Tell me how that makes sense. And the military also has a problem with the height and weight standard. People are not able to pass the fitness test. On the Army, I know I keep talking about the Army side. I don't want to misrepresent what's going on in the Marines as far as their tests and stuff. So I'm going to talk about this as if it's the Army, but this thing specifically is about the Marines, right? On the Army side, we had the ACFT, the Army Combat Fitness Test. You have people that cannot pass the test. You have people that are not meeting the height and weight standard. We're not kicking out people that don't meet the height and weight standard. But if you have razor bumps and you can't shave your face, then you got to go. We've already learned that this condition mostly affects black men. So this just harpens back to what people have to say about the Republicans and specifically the Trump administration. They're targeting everybody that's not white, everybody that's not a white male. They're saying everything is DEI and they just want to get rid of people. And this is their way to do it. It's a legal way to do it because there is a standard for grooming. But why is this the standard that you're choosing to enforce over all the other ones? Why are you kicking out people when we need people in the military? I don't know what that means, right? I don't know how the military is going to look in the next 5-10 years, but it seems like they're targeting a certain demographic of people if you can't shave your face, even though there are waivers that will allow you to serve without that. That's all I'm going to say on that. We can keep our eyes peeled for how the military looks in the next 5 to 10 years, but it seems to me that the messaging is pretty damn clear. Before we get up out of here, we got to talk about for-profit prisons. We got to talk about prisons that get money off the back of inmates being allowed to come into their facility. I'm no sympathizer for people coming over here illegally. I'm not. If you come here illegally, then, whatever happens to you is what happens to you. If you get sent back to your originating country, well, you got caught, right? You got to go back. There is a pathway to come into the U.S. legally. And if you don't follow that pathway, you're caught and you're shipped back. It just is what it is. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But something that I do not agree with. First of all, I don't agree with the U.S. sending anybody down to, what was the name of that country? It wasn't Venezuela. It was President Bukele. El Salvador. I don't agree with Trump and the Trump administration sending prisoners down to El Salvador to be part of President Bukele's super prison that he has down there. If you don't know what it is, we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but basically El Salvador has a super prison that they wanted to clean up their streets, all the gang members, all the cartels. So they arrested anybody with tattoos, put them in a super max prison, and that's where they're going to spend the rest of their days for as long as they have them. There was a flight that left the U.S. within the past couple of weeks. It was going to El Salvador, and it was harboring, and El Salvador is going to house some of the prisoners that were sent from the U.S. That was the situation. I'm not a fan of that. Send people back to their originating country. But now we also have a situation where we're doing more for-profit prisons where a jail over in Ohio is being paid or is going to be paid to house detainees from ICE. Let's check this out.
In Ohio's Butler County Jail, Sheriff Richard Jones is eager to fill these cells.
Got a bed over here, little cabinet, sink.
Happy to provide a resource now that the Department of Homeland Security says its immigration detention centers are at capacity after ICE arrested 32,809 individuals since President Trump's inauguration.
Well, they have no jail space.
So they can't do mass deportations without sheriffs like you.
They need us, and we are willing to help. I shook hands with President Trump.
Right after Trump won the election in November, Jones contacted ICE and renegotiated a contract his jail had with the agency during the first Trump administration. Butler County now charges ICE for holding detainees, renting out its beds for a price per head, potentially bringing the county millions of dollars a year. 300 beds.
Yes, ma'am.
What are you charging?
As much as I can get. We're charging $68 a day, and that pays for my employees, pays for what they need.
Tack on another $36 per hour for transportation. Is it about the money?
No, it's about doing the right thing. If you look at what these people, the crimes that they have committed since they've been here, what's it worth for somebody that's been murdered or somebody that's been raped?
This guy said, oh, no, we're just doing it because it's the right thing to do. But you're charging $68 per head and then $38 per hour for transportation. But it's not about the money. I'm not going to lie to you. I said it before. I do not care about people that are in this country illegally being sent back to their originating country. Trump came in, he said, hey, we're going to go after the criminals first, but we're sending everybody that crossed the border illegally and was allowed to stay here by the Biden administration, we're sending them back. Okay, I'm with that. That is a sentiment I can get behind. What I can't get behind is using these for-profit prisons as temporary holding spaces to divert taxpayer money and just go ahead and pay those prisons. Who's to say that those people are not held there for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months? They just sit there and rot away until we have a flight to send them back. Why Ohio? I'm not sure. I'm sure that there's some sort of reason why they chose Ohio, but these people could damn near sit there indefinitely and whatever county this is, collect money, our federal taxpayer money, to let them sit there. Does that sound like a good plan to you? It doesn't to me. Put these people on a flight. If you want them out of the country, put them on a flight and send them out of the country. Is it going to mean that we have around-the-clock flights? It may. Or if they're nonviolent, right? I don't believe all 32,000 people, 32,809 people. That's how many people they've rounded up. All of those people are not going to be violent, right? So the nonviolent people, if you don't have a place for them, allow them to live in society until they can be sent back. Don't go house them in Ohio spending $68 a day per head of taxpayer money. I thought that we were trying to save money. Does this sound like cost savings to you? This sounds more like a waste of my money than replenishing the $5 million eminent what I call it? Let me look what I call this thing. This sounds like more of a waste of money than just replenishing the housing voucher program that's about to end. That's where this money should go. That's where I want my taxpayer money to go. Not to be housing illegal immigrants. But I don't make the rules. You know, I'm just a guy on the internet giving my opinion. I thought it was an interesting topic. The for-profit prisons, they're getting $68 a day to house illegal immigrants, and ICE has rounded up 32,809 folks. But the sheriff said it's not about whatever he was, the warden, the sheriff. He said it's not about profit. He's just doing it out of the kindness of his heart. But you got to pay him $68 for him to be open to that kindness. Guys, that is where we are going to end the episode today. This is episode 7 of Say It Louder, the place for discourse. If you like the video, like the video. Subscribe to me back here for the next conversation. And if you have any articles that you would like me to, any stories that you would like me to review, like me to talk about, send them over. I will absolutely take a look, see if they're the right fit for the channel. But 2 of the things that are on this list were sent to me. And I appreciate the people that you know, are interacting with the channel, want me to talk about certain things. You know, I appreciate the audience. And if it's a right fit for the channel, it will go up. a video will be made about it. But this is a place for discourse. Till next time. Peace.